I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, it's tax season. For a lot of people, it means gathering those materials and trying to figure out what to do. And for others, it's saying, I need to go to someone for help. And today we're going to find out about an organization here at Missouri Southern that is providing that help. And joining me is Dr. Dave Smith from the Accounting Department at Southern. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Judy.
Your department and your students have been providing volunteer tax service now for at least 4 years here on through Missouri Southern.
That's right. We started it up about 4 years ago. We had a student come in who was experienced. She says, you guys need to have this program, and she got us restarted on it. It's been great. It's taken off since then.
Well, we're going to take some time today and talk about the VITA program and what's involved. Some people may have seen posters if they're on the Missouri Southern campus or around the community giving you the who, what, wheres, and we're hopefully going to give some more part of that as well. This is a nationwide program that you're collaborating with.
Yeah, it's sponsored by the Internal Revenue Service. They've done it for about 40 years now, but really the idea is to help low and middle income taxpayers make certain they get the returns filed and filed accurately, because there's so many benefits for them with different credits and refund programs that really, you want them to be able to do that and get all the money that's due to them.
You think in today's world that there's so many different situations with taxes that there's a lot of questions people come in. Does this apply for me?
Exactly. We get a lot of questions besides just doing tax returns.
Okay, so you're using students for this program. So with the accounting department, how's this tying into your students and their career interests?
Oh, it's really good for them. One, it's actual experience, so it shows up on their resume and they can actually say, I've sat down with someone and I've actually done it. And I think everyone who's ever been in a classroom and then gone out to work knows that the classroom is different from the real world. So they're actually seeing some of the real world. And from my perspective, it's great seeing them because I see a different side of the student. A lot of times in class, they're relatively quiet, or, they take a good exam. Exactly. But, to actually get down, see them talk with people, figure out how to solve problems, it's really good. It's good for a future reference for them.
So is there a specific course that they take to be qualified and provide these services?
They do. We have them take our first tax course, which focuses on doing people's taxes versus corporations. And they have to go through an IRS program, and there's a pretty rigorous exam that they have to pass, and software they have to master. So just for them to sit down and be a volunteer, they've gone through, probably 100+ hours of training when you figure in the classroom as well.
So they're going above and beyond just, I'm going to pass this class and know what I'm doing. They're now saying, I'm going to go on and apply this.
Exactly.
And tying that together. So the program itself, for the viewers, let's explain the setup. You say it's for low to moderate income. Is there an income cutoff? What are you looking at?
We kind of say 54,000, 53,000 is the cutoff, but really we'll go a bit higher than that. We tend not to be able to do tax returns for people who run their own business but they lost money, or if they probably have more than about $5,000 to $10,000 in income from self-employment. But for most other people that are going to be in that income range, we can do their tax return for free.
So no cost to the person, and we're talking about, of course, federal, IRS, also state forms?
Right, we'll do all the states that they need. We'll electronically file everything, and like I said, it doesn't cost them a penny. So.
And individuals and families. I mean, it's not just an individual wage earner says, I just have the simple form, but I'm still confused. They can come in.
Exactly, yep.
Tying that together, and all ages.
All ages, yeah.
You don't have to be a senior citizen to qualify.
No, yeah, 18 to 80 or whatever, yeah, we can get them all.
What about the different forms? And when people look online or they look at the IRS, they see, there's a 1040 Easy, a 1040A, a 1040, and which form do I start with?
Well, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. The software we use will actually sit down and say, based on this would be the best form for them to use, and it'll file it automatically. But if they just bring in their stuff, then we're ready to go and we'll do it for them.
So part of this learning process is your students are learning the software where they're inputting the information needed for this.
Right, and every software is different. They learned one software when they're in my class. They learn another one for this, which actually gives them 2 software packages to have experience on. But they see the same thing time and time again. They really get pretty quick with it as they've gone through a couple weeks.
I know these software programs that will kind of check your work as you go along. In the old days of get out the calculator and punch the buttons, those are behind you.
Yeah, don't miss those at all, yeah.
So you're able to input the information, and it does some calculations within the program. And lets people know what's happening.
Yeah, and there's check figures that they can reference through, and the taxpayer can kind of see. Usually the fun part is they see the refund box get larger and larger, so that's what
So as you're doing your work, they say, oh,
yeah, you're on the right track. So.
Well, I know that you work with accounting students year-round, and we had one of our students visit one of your classes recently, where the students were, I guess some of those students are involved in this program.
Right, yeah. Class you came in, we've got about 17 students, including both undergraduate and graduate students, and the students will be in one of 3 roles. If I kind of take you through, the first thing when a taxpayer comes into Plaster Hall up on the 3rd floor, they'll meet with a greeter, and the greeter's there to kind of sign them in, make certain they brought everything they need. The taxpayer will fill out a questionnaire and kind of, yes, I have this issue, or I'm not sure, and the greeter can help them with that. Then we have the actual preparer, and then they go to meet with the reviewer who reviews everything. So the return actually gets reviewed twice, both by a student and then by someone like myself.
A staff member, faculty member.
Yeah, and so it goes through, but the students will basically do all those roles as they gain experience throughout the busy season.
And I can see how the students are learning, perhaps even the greeter who's aware of then what that checklist involves, that you need to have certain forms with you in preparing for that.
Or that what document do they need to make certain they have.
Well, we do have a short little video I'd like to show the audience before we talk more details about the actual process. One of our students, as I said, went out and shot some video, and actually hearing from the students who are involved in the program.
Great.
So we'll pause right at this moment and take a look at that video.
From St. Kansas to Missouri. And so
I enjoy the people that come in. I enjoy filling out the taxes for some reason. And everybody tends to be really nice that we deal with, since it's a free service that we're providing. And it's also nice to get experience in tax work. There's some favorite people that have come in the 2 previous years that I've done it, that I look forward to seeing this year. Also, there's been instances where, I've been able to research something a little further and get someone back a larger refund or reduce their tax liability. I always like to try to get back as much of a refund for them as possible.
Well, I was looking for an upper level accounting elective to finish out my last few classes at Southern, and my advisor, Mrs. Smith, said that it was good real life experience. You get to work with actual clients and you learn a lot about what it's like to work in the real world. Probably getting that client contact experience, learning to work with people, getting their needs met, and using the information that I've learned in class and applying it in a real life setting.
And actually, I didn't start out as an accountant. I was pursuing an industrial engineering tech degree here at Missouri Southern. And in the middle of my sophomore year, something just clicked, like, hey, this isn't right, I didn't really buy into that program, and so my fallback was accounting. And ever since I made that switch, it's just worked out for me. You're basically working on tax returns on your own, like simulations and stuff like that. So this will be the first time for me personally that I get to actually interact with people and discuss their tax returns face to face with them. So I'm really looking forward to gaining experience from that.
As we could see from that video, you have a wide range of students starting out as well as those who've done it for a number of years.
Right, yeah, we've been really fortunate that Doug Williams, you saw on there, this is his 3rd year doing it. Last year, he did it just as a volunteer because he enjoyed the experience so much, and now he's part of our graduate program, so he's coming back to the class. But yeah, most of the students, juniors and seniors, and it's a wonderful experience for them, particularly when they go out and get a job.
Right. Now you mentioned the graduate program, which is still a fairly new program here.
Right, yeah, it's our second year and the enrollment's growing with that. Students have an elective. One of the things they can do is do the VITA program, and it allows them to learn about leadership skills, different ways of working with people as well. So it's a good mix.
So this ties into both undergrads and graduate students
Right,
very
yeah,
well.
they've got a wide range of people.
Well, let's talk for the audience as far as you mentioned the process. Someone arrives that day, but before they arrive, you have numbers and contact information. They need to let you know, and you need an appointment, I guess.
Right, exactly. One of the sites here in town used to be in North Park Mall. It's now at the Mazio, or the old Mazio's on Rangeline. They are not an appointment site. They're open Monday through Friday. So you just show up, but they're really busy, so you might wait several hours before you even get started. We decided we'd run ours as an appointment site, so we have a number there for you to call, which is 625-9371, and you'll set up an appointment, and then that way when you come in, you pretty much just get right to it, and it's not the doctor's office. Yeah, it's reserved for you, and unlike the doctor, will actually pretty much see you right then. It works out pretty well. So, and that way we can control our flow. The students, have a better experience. And I think the taxpayer does too.
Great. Now, Saturdays is when you're providing
Saturdays, right. We're open from 10 until 4, and we're open every Saturday between now and actually through April 16th. Taxes aren't due until April 18th this year. We are closed on March 19th for spring break, but otherwise every Saturday between now and April 16th we're open.
On the campus of Missouri Southern?
On the campus, near Plaster Hall.
So the third floor of Plaster Hall, and people arrive on a Saturday, there'll be some clear signage where
we'll have signs out. If you're coming along Newman, you'll see signs for VITA and kind of where to turn in and where to go.
So we call, we make our reservation and say, I need some help with my taxes. Then what does the taxpayer need to do to gather those materials? What do you recommend? Is there a checklist they follow? Just what do they need to bring with them?
Yeah, when you make your appointment, they'll kind of tell you what to bring, but for most people, they know, I'll need my W-2 or, my bank statement if there's interest. If you've got receipts, that's all real important to bring, and people know about that. They definitely need a photo ID, so driver's license, something like that. And the one that causes the most grief is their Social Security card for everyone who's going to be on the return. So if you've got, a couple with their 2 kids, we need both the husband and wife there, and we need the Social Security cards for the 2 children as well, or else the IRS won't let us put them on the return.
So you legally have to see that number matching that person.
We actually do, although we've done things where we've had people at home, I forgot my card. Well, someone will take a photo, picture and text the photo, and that'll work. That'll be fine. We're flexible as long as we get the data.
Right. So there's certain requirements the government says we need to prove you're the person filing the form, to
Exactly.
avoid fraud, and also that you are the person with that number you're filing for.
Exactly.
So the supporting materials. This year we've heard a little bit about healthcare statements. Is that something that people need to be
right? We're
as well?
getting, of course, they've added 2 new statements. People may or may not be getting in the mail for it. The major concern is they've increased the penalty from last year, and it's gone up about $300 from last year, and it's going to go up even more the next year. So the whole health care, do you have coverage, yes or no? And most of the people we work with either do have coverage or they meet an exemption because, their income wasn't high enough or something like that. But yeah, they'll have to look at that.
To look at that and be able to say, yes, I have that.
Exactly.
Tying of that together. So as you're getting those things in the mail, which already have started to arrive, obviously as we're recording this program, watch what's coming from the bank, what's coming from, if you have any investments, those forms that say, keep this for your tax record.
Yeah, there's more, rather more than less, and if we don't need it, we'll tell you, you don't need to keep this one, you can toss that when you're ready.
Does it help for that person to have that organized for you when they walk through the door?
It is,
Here's my W-2s together, here's my...
It is, and I think, and most people do a real good job with that. They may put it in a different order than what we think, but, they pull it right out for us, and a lot of them, they've done this for years, and you just kind of walk in, sit down, you'll need this first. That's
They know,
perfect. They know the process.
Right. Well, do you think that fewer and fewer people are doing taxes on their own today, that they are looking at services?
Yeah, they're really, either because of the complexity. I think there's, people, no one wants to get, hi, you're being audited
You made a
from the
mistake,
mail.
right.
And so I think about 80% of people go to someone to have their taxes done. Most of these are filed electronically, and a lot of the tax services that you can go to that cost money, you get charged more than your refund sometimes. So so having a service like VITA, if you qualify, is really helpful.
Right. So that income level is one of the main qualifications for
Right,
this. So those
right.
other cases that if somebody has questions about the marital situation or something like that, those are all things you can input in that computer.
Exactly,
And tie that together
yeah,
and working that
exactly.
together. So people, you mentioned refunds. One of your students talked, we try to get good refunds. We hear the commercials from places saying, we're going to give you the biggest refund. So the students learn what to look for as far as when they look at individual situations?
They do, and both the preparers and then the reviewers, part of the review process is to kind of step back and say, well, do you think you have more of something like this? Did you think about that? And most of our taxpayers will be in a refund position. Last year we got over $250,000 of refunds for our tax clients, and that basically goes right back into the local economy, so it helps the Joplin area to get those refunds.
And you mentioned you have until April 18th this year to file.
Right.
So we still have some time, but people, I imagine when your appointments fill up quickly, don't wait until March 8th or 10th.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're actually pretty full for the next couple weeks until about the first weekend in March. But they fill up, but we can, a lot of times if you show up or call that morning, we are able to fit someone in if we've had
Someone's
a
form
cancellation.
goes faster than others. Or
Exactly,
you can't get things
right.
together and so forth. What about someone who's still waiting for some of their paperwork? That there's always something that's not quite, hasn't arrived yet. That investment company hasn't sent me something.
Right, yeah, I would say the best way is just to hold on and then bring it all in together. We've had it certainly where people have come in and thought they had everything, and then suddenly show up, or right after we filed the return and said something just showed up in the mail, what do we do? And we can handle that for them. We can also do past year's returns, so if they came in and said, oh, something changed, can we fix it? Or we've had people who say, I haven't filed my taxes for the last 4 years. We can help out. We can do that.
Yeah. Do they need to bring in copies of last year's tax return? If
They don't have to, but it's really helpful just to kind of check against what they have. So if they have it, I'd bring it in, but it's not required.
Okay, so that gives your people a chance to look and say, last year you had this, does this
Right,
still apply?
yeah, right.
Tying up all that together. So you're serving the Joplin, specifically the Joplin area.
Right, and we'll have people come in from the surrounding area, Pittsburgh, Carthage, or some of the places, Neosho, I think Pineville, right around here. We'll get a fair number of people coming in from Oklahoma because of, they may have gone to downstream or something and they won some money, and so suddenly, they're a Missouri resident, but they're getting something from Oklahoma, and so we can do all those states for them as well. But yeah, we do, I think last year we had 26 different state returns we did, and a lot of those are just, they moved here from Pennsylvania, and so they had some Pennsylvania income as well as Missouri income.
So does this give your students an extra challenge to maybe learn about those state laws, how things might differ from state to state?
Yeah, it's very different for them, particularly since they didn't stay there the whole year. You have to say, well, my son's running into that. He just moved out to Hawaii with his wife, and it's like, well, some of my income is Missouri, some of it's Hawaii. What do I do with all this?
Right.
So we can work on that.
Which state am I the resident?
Exactly, yeah.
And trying to tie that together. So the most important thing is have those records.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So,
right.
But your students or your volunteers track down that state form, what's needed, whatever
right.
they're
They'll
from. That's all
know.
available electronically.
They'll know. And a lot of the states will have the information electronically, so we've actually sat down and been able to pull up some of the information they need just right off the computer right there. So
computers have obviously tremendously changed the world of tax filing.
yeah, I started 30 plus years ago, and everything was on paper, and we had a room that just had, stacks and stacks of forms in it you would go find for all the states, and it's so much easier now.
So even though you still get that W-2 that says attach this to your federal form, there's no real attachment. They're attaching that information to your form.
Exactly. Yeah, the IRS already knows, actually. So
so you're just confirming what the IRS knows.
Exactly.
What about the timetable for electronic filing? Has that sped up the ability for people to get those refunds that you've mentioned?
Yeah, it has. I mean, when they used to have to key everything in from the tax return, that's long gone. And so with a lot of it now, the taxpayer is able to do direct deposit if they have a checking account, something like that. They're often getting the refund back in less than a week. So it's really moves pretty quickly. If they want a paper check, they can do that, but that's probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks at this point. And of course, the later we go in the tax season, the longer that goes.
That backup's going to be with the government to get those out. So if someone's anticipating a refund, should they bring in some sort of proof about their bank account where they want to
Yeah, we really want them to bring in a canceled check or even just their checkbook where we can actually sit down, because it's amazing. I myself, I'm an accountant. I've gone in and accidentally put down my wrong account number,
and
switched
no routing
digits,
numbers and things like that.
And so we'd hate their refund to go to someone else. So.
Right. So be prepared, as that is another item to bring in.
Exactly.
To put that together. So your students are getting this experience, going beyond the experience of you had the young man who's done it for 3 years now. Tell me about some of the students who've gone on, then maybe you do pursue this as a career.
We've had a number, and it's been kind of, it's fun to watch them, because really the most fun is seeing our students graduate and be successful and track what they're doing. But we've had a lot of the students have gone on and said, I just love tax, and they're now working in public accounting, and this is what they do. Some of them are using the exact same software they use. But I think, for all of them, even if they decide they're not going to prepare tax returns, the fact that they're actually able to sit down and do the actual accounting work and have to sit down and talk with someone and look through the records, you just can't teach that in class. This is what you need to do. And so we're so happy we have that opportunity that they can do that.
So you feel the students are getting more than just the nuts and bolts or how to figure up the numbers. It's that personal interaction with people, the face-to-face, that makes a big difference.
It does. And, everyone's nervous about the IRS. And, if you're a new tax preparer, they're all really nervous about screwing someone's tax return up. Exactly. And you're sitting and if I'm doing your tax return, you're right here with me watching everything I'm doing. So for them to kind of get past that really helps them to say, if I can do that, I can do almost anything. So
now, one of the people in the interview that we saw earlier talked about how seeing people return. So do you have a lot of return clients or customers?
We do, yeah. I would say at this point now, it's our 4th year, but as I look at our appointment list, I'll recognize a lot of the names. I'd say, so far half the people we've had we've done before. And the nice thing is the software, when we start typing in their information, it will pull it in from last year. So there's the address, here's a lot of the information, which makes it go even faster.
So all you have to do is say, are you living at the same place?
Right.
Anything else changed on your situation?
Exactly.
Well, we hear a lot about, on taxes, and even the federal government last year had some problems with breaches of security. So obviously you're using a secure format. It's
very encrypted. We don't keep any of their information, so we basically send it all back with them, so there's nothing that stays at school,
Right.
So we treat the information, it has to stay locked up, when it's there. We haven't had any data, security issues, but it's definitely something we get. I probably get 20 emails a week from the IRS on things to watch out, and ID theft is one of their biggest concerns right now.
Right. And the tying into that, we've heard from the IRS saying, file early so someone doesn't take your ID.
Exactly.
And trying to tie that together. Well, we have your webpage up that basically gives us the basic information we've been talking about, how to contact you and your hours and services. This is one other way that people can gather some information.
Exactly, and it'll list out for them, once again, documents or things to bring and the contact number. And if they do that, it really works out pretty well. And certainly we've had people show up and, maybe they didn't have a document, and so they were able to come back later that day or next week and, provide us the document we finished up the return.
So when they finish the process, their taxes are completed, do they leave with a hard copy of what you've submitted electronically?
They will. We'll file it electronically for them, but we will print out, and they've got a copy of their return. They get all their documents, and they're all set, ready to go, and they're done for the year, except hopefully just spending that
Get
refund
that refund
check.
when it comes
That's
through.
right. That's right.
And how do you handle the signature on the documents? Because obviously tax forms have a little line, sign here for tax.
Right. Because it's electronically filed, there's a form that we will do where the taxpayer will sign, and they will keep that. But just by filing it electronically, we're saying, we've got their signature.
We verify that's John Doe.
Exactly. And if they're, doing a married filing joint return, both spouses would have to be there to sign it at that time.
And of course, a lot of different situations come up, and sometimes spouses may be traveling, or someone might be in the military overseas, but you're able to deal with those special situations.
We are, and we've had things where, like only one spouse could be there, or one was supposed to meet them there, they would come in later, we've worked with that. But yeah, if, someone's out of the country, there's, workarounds the IRS has provided. We can do that for them.
Right. Well, in your work with the program, what have you enjoyed the most about this, working together with VITA?
It's, the two things is watching the students, because we'll ask the students every year, what was the most valuable part you liked? And they really enjoyed, in a way almost saying what I learned in the fact that I can do it, I can work with these people. And then it's saying, the taxpayers, because so many of them are so happy to have it done, and it didn't cost them anything. We'll have some of them. One couple was so nice, they came in and says, "We just love you all," and they bought us pizza for the day.
Wow,
so for a student, it almost doesn't get much better. Exactly. So it's really seeing, it's the personal element where you can really see we're helping people with the service we're doing.
So really personalizing the taxpayers.
Exactly.
You're not just a number on a sheet of paper that
not at
you know
all.
John Doe, you've met with John or Jane Doe.
Exactly.
And tying all that together. Well, kind of summarize for people who may have tuned in late. It's on Saturdays between now and April 16th.
April 16th, and there's the contact information to set up an appointment, and set that up, and then they'll come in. We're available between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock on every Saturday between now and the 16th, except March 19th for spring break.
Spring break, right.
And campus is closed, and just come in. We'll get your tax returns done, filed for you electronically, and it'll be done for the year for you.
Yeah, so pick up the phone, call that number, say I'd like to get an appointment, and they can get you on the books.
They'll take care of it,
Schedule
that's
them.
right.
So you have a group of how many students? We haven't mentioned how many.
We have
involved.
about 17 students this year, like I said, mostly undergrads, but about 5 different graduate students. So it's a good number. They'll get a lot of experience.
Good mix. And then you'll be able to look next year at those that have graduated and follow up with them. As
Exactly, and then hopefully some of them will come back for year 2,
Right.
and it goes that much better.
Great. Well, Dr. Smith, I'd like to thank you very much for visiting with us today and providing some information for our
Thank you
viewers.
so much for giving us the opportunity, Judy.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us. To find out about this free service for you for tax filing in the Joplin region, Missouri Southern offering this program. And I'd like to invite you to join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.